Viakoo is the leader in IoT vulnerability remediation. They implement automated device cyber hygiene at scale to manage firmware, passwords, and certificates, enabling their customers to continuously defend their IoT attack surface at the lowest risk and cost. Today's presenter is John Gallagher, Vice President of Viakoo Labs. Take it away, John.
Great, thanks for the introduction, Kevin. We're going to go today into a topic around healthcare security, which I think is really critical, which is how do you apply automation to your security challenges? And at Viakoo, we've been focused on this for many years. We started as an organization focused on service assurance for physical security systems, video surveillance and access control. And our focus at that point was making video reliable because you rely on it. And today we've extended that mission to also incorporate cybersecurity because we want to make sure that things work securely. So today I'm going to touch on both the service assurance and cybersecurity aspects because that's what our healthcare customers really draw from us, right? When we talk to them and work with them, that's the one thing that really hits you over the head. It's a really wide range of requirements, right? It's a broad ecosystem, many different parts of a healthcare organization, each of which might have unique and individual needs. Overlaying on top of it are things like, compliance to auditable standards, meeting CMS directives, making joint commission audits happen. Increasingly, cyber insurance plays a role here. So it's a wider range of requirements than we see almost anywhere else. And from those requirements, the typical security concerns, chief of which these days is cyber breaches, because it really can be devastating to both the patient outcomes as well as to the overall operations of a healthcare environment. The high value medical equipment, controlled pharmaceuticals and other materials that could be sources of theft and so forth. Domestic violence, workplace violence, street violence, especially in urban settings and emergency rooms, patient elopement, illegal parking. The list goes on. And all of these are significant and serious issues that a security team really has to be on top of. And to do that, again, when we talk to our customers in healthcare, automation is the cornerstone of it. Automation is what leads them to be able to reduce the cost of physical security so that they can use their healthcare IT funding or other funding, again, hopefully for better patient outcomes. They can have reduced complexity of their physical security systems and the management thereof. Even before COVID, we found a lot of our healthcare customers were looking for solutions that reduced the need for having people come on site and being able to restrict the areas that people would have to work in within a healthcare system. And of course, the centralized and streamlined management and proof of compliance and so forth, all are important parts that automation brings to the party. Now, when we look at an overall system, right, it's really not just the camera to the storage device. It's things such as, how the video path travels differently. Every single path travels differently through the environment. And things like single component self-test health checks just don't simply encompass all of what happens across that path. So a system like Viakoo, which is able to do the entirety of that and treat every path differently, is really an important part of managing to the overall, health and safety and security of the system. And to extend that to IoT, right, your physical security systems are just one form of it. Within a healthcare environment, you've got many other types of IoT devices. And the Viakoo Action Platform, our core product, addresses all of those. So it's really something that helps you not just with your physical security needs, but also your IoT security needs in a broader sense. And the other part to automation, which I mentioned earlier, is that you want to use automation to hopefully avoid time-consuming issues, reduce cost, and also reduce truck rolls. And here's how we do it, right? When we looked at how problems get found and resolved, the first three steps, right? Customer finding the problem, security integrator rolling a truck, and then developing a troubleshooting and fix-it plan. those parts are around 80% of the time and cost involved in that process. The other 20% is doing the repair. And so through automation, the first 3 steps there, we can reduce essentially down to 0. Of course, the repair will still take some time, but the advantage there is we've analyzed historical tickets generated in our system over time, and we found that about 74% of them can be remotely resolved. Many advantages come from that. And the other thing which having this digital connection enables is you can then virtualize preventative maintenance. You can avoid needless travel by misdiagnosing or guessing the wrong conclusion. Many organizations do rip and replace. That's savings that can be done through automation. And my favorite, of course, is the elimination of finger pointing. It's scientific proof of what's going on and what's needed. Another side benefit too is we found through the truck roll reductions and other efficiencies that are brought through automation, massive CO2 savings. Just think of how many trucks don't need to be on the roads and generating that CO2. Now, another part to automation is the data that you need to manage your systems, right? Many organizations struggle to keep a comprehensive list of what devices and applications they have, how the applications are tied to the devices, and what the status lifecycle-wise is of those devices. At Viakoo, we've automated that. We bring in end of support, end of warranty information automatically into the platform. We also tie into the National Vulnerability Database so that we can bring in CVE scores, vulnerability data, so that you've got really laser-focused information on what are your most vulnerable devices and what's most in need of updating and support. And that, again, reduces greatly the challenge that you have on being on top of the huge variety of systems and devices. And to address cyber, right, I'll just point to, there's really 3 core elements to that, all of which benefit from automation. It's what I call the trifecta, right? You need to update firmware to avoid known threats, to remediate them. You need to use certificates. Certificates establish authenticity of the device and enable you to know that that device belongs where it is. And also it encrypts the traffic between them. Really important for personal identifiable information that's often in a healthcare system. And of course, managing passwords and being able to rotate them quickly should, for example, key people leave or should some incident happen and you need to reset things. So to summarize, right, healthcare requires automation. Having maintenance be streamlined, as we've just discussed, bringing cyber hygiene very quickly and cost effectively, right? We've done extensive studies with customers in healthcare where looking at the number of firmware updates they had to do manually versus how they use our automation, the cost savings, it pays back literally within weeks. So having automation to address the scale of IoT and physical security issues, making compliance push button, and having the ability to scale across any size or scope of organization is really important. The last thing I'll finish with is not all of this has to be done in-house, right? We work with many managed service providers. Many of them are potentially organizations you currently work with, such as Securitas, Presidio, Optiv, Trace3, and others. The managed services part of physical security is growing, and these capabilities are directly offered by many service providers. So if you're not already working in that dimension, it really helps to quickly address some of the issues we talked about. Again, thank you, and I look forward to the questions towards the end.